Oh boy, what is going on, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to more esports talk. You know, if there was ever a time in history, I mean this fully, to be a Complexity fan, right now is that time. Yes, their CSGO Juggernaut is now complete. I must preface this episode by saying you got to give props to a guy like Jason Lake. This is a Juggernaut team. This is one of the biggest roster signings I've ever seen. Although, yes, it's not necessarily North American. It is a North American org out there now dropping some big bucks for this now established lineup. Obo will now be the only remaining player from the previous lineup. He'll be joined by Rush, the only other North American player on the lineup. BlameF will team lead, of course, and alongside them, their two newest members, K0nfig, alongside the young gun Poizon, to be opting for this roster, which, by the way, and I know this is said a lot because, you know, you can only say so much about these roster changes. On paper, this team is deadly. On paper, I actually have a video coming out very soon for all of you guys. It's about the most expensive transactions in CSGO history. If this was disclosed amounts, if we knew the amounts that Jason Lake has paid for this lineup, Complexity would certainly be on that list. They won't be in that video for now because I actually already finished the video, so I do apologize. And we don't know those amounts as of right now for this, but you have to give props for a North American org now with a European majority roster. They are certainly giving it their all, and I'm super curious what you guys think about this. My first thoughts, for anyone out there who was curious, apparently Wardell and Jampy were also alongside Poizon being considered as oppers for this lineup until OG came in. Jason Lake said that on Decay's stream. Huge shouts to Decay. Him and Jason Lake have apparently been talking a lot about this kind of stuff ever since a few months back. They've been going back and forth, and that's why Decay has been telling us all about these Complexity changes and doing a great job doing so. So apparently, obviously, Poizon did win that race. I mean, when it comes to opping, he's obviously a target of many teams out there, and he could be the next big thing. I think this is probably the biggest prize on this roster. Alongside that, you have your two North American players. Obo, obviously, your young gun, your young talent. You hope to can actually prime him into a top tier player. Besides that, though, I think the obvious statement people need to make here is the two worries on this team have to be Rush alongside K0nfig, two players who have not been in their top form for quite some time, and certainly we have seen many players in their time, you know, obviously after their peak condition, just fall off tremendously and never come back to it. We have seen that time and time again when it comes to CSGO. Jason Lake apparently has the confidence in those two guys to reach their peak form, and for BlameF to actually be able to lead them and mesh them well together, and for Obo to grow into his role. If that does happen, it's a giant if, but on paper, this roster, if that does happen, is easily a top 10, if not a top 5 team. There are so many ifs around all those rosters out there, and I'm sick and tired of hyping up rosters on this channel that eventually just don't live up to the expectations. This one, though, of all the ones I've hyped up, and again, you guys know we all have the same opinions here. We can all be very much wrong or very much right on different topics out there. This roster is a killer roster. Jason Lake spent millions on this roster, and for good reason. My only worries come to the ifs of the roster. And for all you Jampy fans out there, we've obviously talked about him now having a role or a possibility of taking a job with Complexity now alongside OG, and he's maybe being passed up because of a historical VAC ban tied to his account. I'll have a video for you guys maybe this weekend or next week about that. I've been digging into it and trying to bring up more about this, guys, and why maybe it's not exactly his fault, and if it is costing him a future career in CSGO, it's just saddening to see, and hopefully going to shed some more light on that. Very lastly, and again, super curious your thoughts on this, guys. When it comes to this, it's a rarity, not only for a North American org to spend this much money on a European majority team. We also now have the debate where they might actually have a chance to go to the North American minor for the major. We've seen this a few times, maybe a couple times, a few slim times in the past, with Brazilian teams being able to compete in the Brazilian minor. Also, though, they could compete in the North American minor based off their residency. Typical rule out there, though, for most majors has been your majority region for your lineup is where you play the minor, so they should be playing the European minor for the major, which is a whole different discussion. If they go to North America, this lineup probably makes the major no matter what. If they go to Europe, we all know the amount of top 15, top 20 teams there. Whew. That could be a hectic trial for a somewhat new roster. Obviously, they will have a few months to still get ready for that as well, or a decent amount of time. But either way, we have a rarity here where we have a European lineup now moving across the world to North America, which, yes, they are some of the best facilities in North America over at Complexity HQ down in Texas, but we rarely see this. It makes me think instantly back to the Optic roster. Remember the glory days of the Optic roster. Eventually, they moved on to a European majority as well. That came the debacle of their Pro League spots. Those guys, they didn't want to leave Daneland. They didn't want to leave the European countries to come to America, and eventually that project, it fell apart. This is different because these Complexity guys, they have now relocated all the way to North America. I hope they don't get homesick because they are in for one heck of a ride with Complexity alongside Jason Lake. They have built a juggernaut. I will give them that. Can they succeed is an entirely different question. I hope to answer sometime soon. I wish them the best of luck. This roster just has me super excited. Until next time, I'll be back here all day long, guys, breaking down esports and gaming news because I do that here on this channel, and I've been uploading a lot of videos, and you guys have been liking the videos, and that makes me feel good inside. Until next time, take care of yourselves, drink coffee. I'll see you guys back here sometime soon.